Step, something in my jeans. FOI, you know that's the team, huh?
Peace. This is your brother Aidan X, and welcome to the processing class. Peace. This is brother Aidan X, and welcome to the processing class. Today, I got a very special guest. I got brother Winford X. He goes by Knowledge 5845 on social media. And the first question, I just want to go straight into it, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I just want to go straight into it. How did you get the teachings? Did you get it through, were you born in the nation, or did you get the teachings through some other way?
Yes, sir. May I open up as well in due respect. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger and exalted Christ. And I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the extension of the Son of Man. All right. I am a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And first and foremost, brother, I want to thank you for reaching out to me and having this this thorough interview, man, and seeing how I came into the teachings and things of that nature. But the way I came into the teachings, brother, is through, incarceration, being incarcerated. At the age of 19, I went to a federal penitentiary for 17 and a half years. And during that process of being in prison, I went in, I was affiliated with a blood gang on the outside. And, of course, naturally, when I went in, that's what I knew. So I was able to link up with, the Bloods that was in the inside. And I had a few homies that was Crips. I had a few homies that was Bloods that I knew from the streets. So it was a difficult transition because I never knew what I was getting myself into. Being in the streets, running around, being shaped in iniquity, being shaped in my environment. And we know that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that you have to be careful on what environment you're placed in because it produces heredity, and never knew none of these things, brother, until I came into the teaching, but that's further on down. But yeah, I came into the teachings, through being in prison.
Yes, sir. And just going through that, because of course we know you now and we know the work that you do now. Can you go a little more in depth of who you were before you got the teachings?
Yes, sir. Of course. It's crazy, man, that, people always ask that, and I'm gonna just get straight to the chase. We was niggas. I was a nigga, you know what I mean? Straight up. And, of course, man, like just being shaped in your reality of what you grow up around, you become that, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but again, I was raised properly. I was raised by my father. A lot of young Black men are raised by their mothers, and a lot of them don't know their fathers. A lot of time the father is in prison or the father is dead, or the father is out in the world, but just not taking care of the responsibility. But I had an opportunity. I was fortunate enough to have my father, in my life. My mother and my father, they divorced when I was 6 years old. And I had siblings as well. I had a sister that was 3 years older than me. And I had a brother that was 7 years older than me. That was from my mother. But me and my sister, we had the same father and mother. And she was 3 years older than me. So at 6 years old, my father and my mom, they divorced. And I went with my father, and my brother and my sister went with my mother. Now, as a young child, naturally, the love you would think is more unconditionally for the child and mother. Allah created a special bond for the child and the mother. But at that time, of course, I'm 6 years old, so I didn't understand the split. I didn't understand the breakup between my parents, but I ended up going with my father. So, of course, naturally, I wanted to go with my mom, but I didn't know no better. But as time went on, I was glad that I did go with my father because he taught me how to fight. He taught me these things, you know what I'm saying? So he taught me so much that a woman probably would have been more passive about. You feel me? So it was like, when I got old enough, I asked my father, what was the reason, that I went with you and I didn't go with my mother? And he said, well, when they went to court, he told the judge that, a woman can't teach a man how to be a man. That's my job. And the judge was like, you're absolutely correct. So, I ended up going with my father, but I was raised, yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I played sports my whole life, my childhood life, basketball, football, ran track, reading programs in the summertime. My father always kept me busy, even though the neighborhood that I was saturated around was drug infested, gang infested. It was a lot of things going on that he was trying to protect me from. But of course, as I grew, I just started becoming more inquisitive and just more, curious about the things that I was seeing on an everyday basis. So I started to become that. So that brought dissension in between my father's household, because now I'm hanging out. I'm a replica. I'm a representation. I'm a reflection of my reality. And me and my father, we started to bump heads, and from that point on, it just got ugly.
Yes, sir. What do you think attracted you to? You say you was blood affiliated. What do you think attracted you? Was it the money? Was it the lifestyle? Was it being cool? What do you think attracted you to that?
Well, it was a sense of just being accepted. A sense of being accepted, man. It's like when you're young and you see certain things, and first of all, it started out just friends. You growing up, you go to school, and you see some of your homies, and you see how they rocking, and they're your friend. You cool with them. You don't want to be the black sheep of the crew. You don't want to be the one left out. You know what I mean? So it was kind of that sense. But I felt, a love there. I felt a friendship there. With the people that I went to school with. See, like the neighborhood that I grew up in is a Crip neighborhood, but where I went to school at, it was affiliated with majority Bloods. So just imagine me living in the Crip neighborhood, but the school I went to was my friends that I had grew up with since I was young in elementary, middle school. So by the time, high school came, I got kicked out of one of the schools where I was living at. And I ended up going to an alternative school. So it was almost where I wasn't going to be able to graduate on time with my class. So my dad sent me back across where the blood affiliated neighborhood was at, where I went to school at. And it was just like reconnecting with all my guys, you know what I'm saying, that I went to school with when I was in elementary and I was in middle school with. So when I seen them, it was just like a connection again. So I had friends that was Crips because I stayed in the Crip neighborhood, but where I went to school at and graduated high school was affiliated, was like majority Blood. So there was partners that I had grew up with when I was young as well. So I was attracted just by the acceptance of the friendship and how genuine it was. So that's what attracted me to the Blood gang.
Yes, sir. And you just, you talked about the friendship, you talked about the love that you got. So what was it about the teachings that made you want to leave that lifestyle? Because you hear about, the nation being a hate group. You hear about it, killed Malcolm, they hate white people. So what was it about the teachings that said, man, I'm going to give up this friendship and this love that I get in the Blood gang and go, and I'm going to be a Muslim and register in the Nation of Islam?
Yes, sir. Well, you know what? Honestly, brother, I didn't lose like it. Once I went to prison, being 19 years old, being in a federal prison and having so much time over my head, I had an opportunity just to reflect. I'm not going anywhere. And one thing about being in prison, no matter if it's a state prison or federal prison, I've never been to a state prison, but I can only speak from a federal penitentiary point of view, was that everything is politics, when it comes to being in the penitentiary. What I mean by everything is politics is you cannot go into a prison saying, oh, I'm not nothing. You know, it's not set up that way, because if you go in and say, well, I'm solo, well, you can do it, but you know, it's pretty much like you're putting yourself on an island. The only way that you'll be okay is you got homies that's there, you know what I mean, from where you're from, your respected city, you know what I'm saying? And then you kind of just get in with your partners, but you're not claiming anything. But for me, you know, being affiliated with a blood gang, so I went right in, you know, and I seen the politics and stuff like that. So many gangs on, you know, Bloods, Crips, Vice Lords, you know, GDs, BDs, Stones, you know, Travelers, 400 Hustlers. I seen Latin Kings. It was a widespread of affiliation of gangs everywhere, organizations. So I had to gain wisdom very quickly, you know what I mean? So it was like, okay, this is what it's doing. This is how we moving. And, you know, just, I guess, being able to, because see, I started out as a Sunni Muslim. You know, I didn't come into I got incarcerated in the year 2000. I didn't come into the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, until 2009. So I was 9 years in before I came into the teachings. I was in the Sunni community. I was in Sunni Muslim, following the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, of 1400 years ago. You know, so I was attracted to that. I seen Brothers in the Nation, but I didn't know anything about the Brothers in the Nation. I had already read Message to the Black Man like 3 times already, but even still reading that, actually I read that my first 2 years in, and I read it 3 times, but I didn't understand it. You know, it was some truth to it that I understood, but it was other things in there that was kind of hazy to me. So in prison, the population of the Sunni community is a lot more in numbers than it is as far as brothers that's in the Nation of Islam. So by me seeing that, you know, I definitely gravitated towards the brothers that was in the Sunni community, learned my prayers in Arabic, you know, learned how to call the muezzin, call the adhan. I became the muezzin. I was the muezzin of the Sunni community for 7 years. And as I started to, you know, transition towards the teachings of the Nation of Islam, the way that I came into the teachings was every year during Ramadan, I always try to make a congregational salat, meaning a group with everybody, you know, Sunni Muslims. I would see the brothers that was in the Nation of Islam and, you know, try to get everybody to just make one congregational salat. And that's when I ran into the politics, you know, brothers that was in the Sunni community telling me that, you know, those brothers are not real Muslims. You know, Farrakhan is not a real Muslim. You know, Farrakhan is working with the government, and he would have been dead. You know how it is. I'm hearing all of it, brother. Right? I'm hearing all of it. So, you know, just for face value, that's what I went with. Not having the knowledge of Farrakhan and not having knowledge of, you know, the Nation of Islam and the fruit, not really understanding to that point what it was all about. So just being able to hear someone telling me that on the surface, I kind of went with that. But as I continued to just study the Quran and read and just ponder on what I was reading, and then looking outwardly, looking at what I was looking at and studying what I was seeing through the human being, I came back and I had questions, and I started, it just would bother me to say that, hey, you know, these brothers are not real Muslims. But as I would read the Quran for myself, as I would self-study, and then I would look at the brothers' behavior, I seen the brothers was way more disciplined than the Sunni community. I seen brothers was not eating meat. Brothers was working out consistently. Brothers was not using any profanity. Brothers was becoming vegetarians. Every time that I would hear a brother that was a representation of the Nation of Islam speak, it always made sense. He was always confident, no matter how much time he had. Anytime gangs would get into it, rivals would get into it in the penitentiary, it was not the Sunni community that would come to the aid. It would be more of what I seen in my experience. I'm not saying that the Sunni community would not get involved, but I'm saying to be a mediator for both sides, it always was a representation of someone from the Nation of Islam. So being able to see that, I was attracted to that, and we learned that opposites attract. So being able to see that smooth, clean shave and seeing brothers speak with confidence, seeing the warden, the captains, these securities, these guards of this facility, always, anytime there was problems, they would go to the nation. Hey, we had this problem. Because really, prisoners, they run the prison. I mean, the warden can only go so far. The guards can only go so far, and then if it get too much out of hand, they got to get out the way, so yeah, so that's what attracted me, being able to see how they was conducting themselves during a time of turbulence, being in that atmosphere and having so much time, some having life sentences, never going home, some already been locked up 20, 25 years, looking like they haven't been locked up 2 days because of the how to eat to live, the way that they was living, and I was attracted to that and I was amazed by that. And that's when I started to study. And, I started to come around, and one guy that I worked in the kitchen with, me and him, he was in the nation. I was in the Sunni community, but we was very cool with each other. And we used to always talk back and forth. And he asked me one day, how do I believe that human beings got on the earth? And I remember telling him that Allah scooped up all the soil from the earth and just made human beings. And he started laughing. He was like, okay. And he said, well, how did that process take place? And I said, don't nobody know. And he gave me study guide number 19 to go back to my dorm and read. And as I did that, the next day I came back to him and I had so many questions. And my mind was racing, and I was like, wow. So study guide number 19, the knowledge of God, who is God? As it started to break down from a mathematical and a scientific perspective, I had never heard that before, but it was like a rush. And I knew whatever that void was in me, what I was looking for, my heart started pounding, and I said, this is what I've been looking for. This is it. And I started reading about the difference between mind and brain. What is the difference? And as it started breaking down how a brain was an organ, how it was finite, but the mind was infinite. And it broke that down in a mathematical, just in a mathematical sequence. I fell in love with it, brother. You know what I mean? And I wanted to know more, and I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more. So I had one question after another question after another question. And it led me to going to Jumar, going to one of the services for the brothers in the Nation of Islam. And I told my imam of the Sunni community, I said, brother, I'm going to go and study with the nation today. And that was the first time that I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan ever speak, which is my favorite lecture of all time, is The Origin of Blackness. When I heard that, The Origin of Blackness, I started to cry. And the brothers gave me some tissue and said, welcome home. And from that point on, I never went back to the Sunni community. I've always been a student and a soldier of the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir. You may have some young brothers watching this, and they heard your story, and they may say, I get it, brother, but like, why the discipline? You see the brothers, like you said, they don't eat meat, they don't use profanity. It may not seem, quote unquote fun. It may seem more fun to be running around the gangs, maybe more fun to, chase women, to drink, to smoke until your lungs ache. So why be attracted to the teachings? Why go into the teachings when there's so much, not only discipline, but there's so much controversy around it?
Well, because your spirit and your nature, the way you was created, is going to bear witness regardless. So what I mean by that is, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, tricking the mind is playing with truth. So anytime that you trick your mind, your existence, no matter what it is, no matter what condition it is, by you being a human being, being a true reflection of the Supreme Being, your existence is going to bear witness to it. No matter what you think or not, you're going to have to come across that crossroad to where that reality is going to hit you in the face. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught us that the more that you know, the more you become accountable of. So it's like, it's a natural drive. So you say, wow, you see brothers, you know, the minister said, you don't have to condemn a dirty glass, just set a clean glass next to it. That's natural. That's something that you're going to incline to and say, man, you know, it's a rush. So especially being in prison, especially being incarcerated. So you behind, you know, you're in a world where years are going by and you're seeing your family and visit, you know, your mother's getting older, your father's getting older, you're away from your children, you're away from your family, someone died in the family, you're not able to be there to support physically. You know, you got to carry that burden while you're in prison. So a lot of the things that you go through in prison, you know, just having an urge to drink, to smoke, at that particular time, you're starting to remove things that you were shaped in, and you're bringing in new things that you've never heard. You're bringing in a supreme wisdom that you've never heard. And so now you're starting to apply this to your life. Not saying that you're able to see results from the outside, but you're starting to see results from the inside, because what's starting to happen now is the stress and the time that you're doing, that the burden starts to lighten up mentally. It starts to lighten up spiritually. So now you find yourself being able to go work out. You find yourself being able to study for 4 and 5 hours at a time, and it's literally soothing your soul. And you're like, wow. So it was spurts in my 15 years that I did, especially when I came into the teachings, where I was in some dark moments, brother. But just by having the teachings, final call, I tell everybody all the time, man, ordering final calls in prison, it was like a representation of Noah's Ark, because long as I was able to order that final call and order resources and books, it was like that's what was keeping me floating on top of the turbulence of just being incarcerated, you know. So I started teaching my family about it. You know, when I would go to visit, I would start teaching them, and of course, everybody rejected it. My mother rejected it. My sister rejected it. Everybody rejected it except my father. My father, he seen and said, yeah, stay on this track. And I did, man. So yeah.
Yes, sir. You know, you was just talking about the final call, and earlier you said you read Message to the Black Man. You know, some young brothers watching this may not be into reading, not be into studying. So why, you know, for those watching, why study, why read, you know, because it's, you know, looked upon as boring to a lot of people. And even to a lot of people, like you said, the discipline, the study, and not cursing, not drinking, you may be looked upon as being soft or, you know, acting white. So why study? Why do these things along with the discipline?
Yes, sir. Well, I'm gonna say it like this. You know, me being Brother Ben X's personal security, you know, our relationship is very, you know, unique, I would say. And I've always, you know, I always say this, and I say it every time I'm interviewed, or no matter if I'm speaking abroad or whatever, but I always like to bring him up, because when I studied the teachings and I came into the teachings, I had knowledge of the teaching. I mean, I could quote certain things and read the Quran back and forth, Message to the Black Man, Our Savior Has Arrived, how to eat to the, you know, study guys, all that's good to have the knowledge of it. But honestly, Brother Ben X, you know, as he came into my life as a young brother, man, you know, he taught me how to start understanding the teachings. It's a difference between having knowledge of the teachings and having an understanding of the teachings. It's a big difference. Understanding the teachings is being able to apply them in your life and be able to receive the proper results from it. So this goes back to what you're saying about the discipline and you know, not wanting to read and stuff like that. Well, if you don't have that, then you'll be able to see that the results are not lining up. Whatever you see yourself and what you want to become, then those are the things that you have to do. So we have to be able to study to be able to see where the supreme being, how he was created, how he came from triple darkness. When we going through things in our life and we find ourselves in triple darkness, by reading and understanding how God created himself will allow you to come up with the solution to your problem. just by understanding, okay, if I study, I'm going to receive proper results. But if I don't study, it's like working out. Being in prison, we walk by the weight yard and people say, oh, I'm gonna start working out, start working out. But if you just walk by the weights every day and just say you're gonna work out, but you never go in there and work out, the reality of your condition is not gonna change. So therefore, and then you're seeing the reality of what it's doing to other people. And that's why it's so important that we fish, and we let the people see us, because you want people to see. It's like I said, it's like a clean glass. You know, if you give a man a dirty glass and that's all he has is a dirty glass to drink from, he's going to continue to drink because he's thirsty. But now if you sit a clean glass next to it, you give a man an option to say, well, damn, you know, I've been drinking out of this one. Let me try this one. And once you start to try that one, you see that your thirst is being quenched better. There is nothing floating in your water. It tastes better. So now it's become a decision in your mind, in your existence, to say, hey, I'm feeling better about drinking from this glass. And so that's kind of pretty much how it was, like with the teachings, man. You know, I just thought, I knew, brother, like this is it, you know. And then I didn't want to come back to prison. You know, I in a 15-year bid, I seen brothers leave and I seen brothers come back, you know, with more time. Brothers leave after doing 10 years. Within a year, a brother be back with a fresh 20 years. And I will see that. And I thank Allah for allowing me to record that data as I was actually doing the time. And I just was like, I used to tell brothers, man, let's go to the chapel and man, let's go listen to the minister. And they would laugh. They would point at me and laugh. And oh man, you go ahead, man. Just tell me what he was talking about. And I used to tell brothers, man, listen, I can only go so far with telling you when you can come listen to it for yourself. And those same guys that laugh would go home and come right back with fresh sentences. And they would come back and tell me, man, I wish I would have listened to what you said. And even when, you know, when I came home, seeing brothers in the streets that I was incarcerated with, you know, brothers back in the street hustling, doing this and that. And, you know, brothers was like, wow, man, you know, you really staying on track. You really back in, you still in the nation. I see you traveling with Brother Ben. I see you speaking in Puerto Rico. I see you always going live about these teachings. And they's like, man, you really did it. And I'm like, man, you know, I'm just a reflection of what you could be doing, because I seen somebody else doing it. I said, you can do it too. It's just our people, man. You know, we're afraid of change and we feel like we're going to miss something if we leave a certain lifestyle, but not because I felt like that, but not knowing that once you grab something of righteousness, whatever you desire to be, if it's in accord, man, you're going to be able to attain whatever you vision. You know, you just got to go out there and Allah will start putting you in positions, opportunities around people that's going to bring up certain things that you wish and desire from a righteous standpoint. And then you just fall in place and you'll be able to start living out your purpose.
Yes, sir. How did you not succumb to the pressure of, you know, when you leave that lifestyle, you know, the money that you're making with it?
Yes, sir.
You know, the reputation, you know, you're looked upon with a certain reputation. How did you not, you know, succumb to the pressure of, you know, me being in the nation, I may not be making the money I was making with the gang, or I may not have, you know, the hard reputation that I had with the gang. So how did you deal with that?
Well, easy, brother. I did 15 years. They didn't. You know, you got to think for other people. You got to learn how to think for other people and, you know, allow your past not to consume you, but allow your past to continue to keep you reminded to stay corrected for your future. You say, man, I just did 15 years. You know, I left a son. My son is 21 years old right now. I left my son. He wasn't even born yet. When I came home, my son was 15 years old. 2 years ago, my son was shot 8 times and paralyzed from neck down. And he lives on a breathing machine right now. And he's still paralyzed from neck down. And just to see my reflection of me, a younger me, that lived the life that I lived, you know, not having a father, having to grow up in a neighborhood that I grew up from and be saturated from the same things that I was saturated from, you know. And what's so crazy, he became a Crip. He was, you know, Crip to his heart, you know. So it was like, man, but through the course of me doing time, my family, my father, my mother would bring my son down when he was young. And I could see the struggle in his eyes of having the lack of a father not in his life, just having, can you imagine his mom, my son's mother, she hustled. So she was a street girl, she hustled, so whoever she was dealing with, whatever boyfriend she had, that was the reflections of a part of him growing up as well, so all this, none of this never dawned on me until I came into the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, being represented, of course, by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So that's when everything just started to hit me. So when all this stuff hits you, and because a lot of time, man, we never think that something gonna hit home. We think everything about, we'll see tragedies and we will see horrific things happen to people outside of us, and we say, damn, we may feel sympathy, but at the end of the day, we're not feeling it because it's not us. And this is why it's important that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that when one of our brothers suffer, we have to feel that. We have to be able to feel and say, man, damn, another one. You know what I'm saying? Because until we're able to feel literally what's going on, we're not connected. So we have to continue to see that when we see, no matter where the brother is at, no matter if he's on the West Coast, Midwest, East Coast, South, I don't care where you at, we see something going on, we say, damn, because when we look at the black man, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we're looking at God. And he also said, when you look at your brother, in the word brother, you have the word other. You seeing your other self. So until we able to understand that, we'll continue to move with no feelings, no emotion. So that's why I believe that I've done so much study, young God. I did a lot of study, Christianity, Jew, Hebrew, Egyptologist. I've had 15 years, man, to study so much. Occidental philosophies, Oriental philosophies. I've studied Gnostics. I've studied so much stuff, and still, when I came into the teachings, man, I found no flaws. I found no loopholes. And I think that's what allowed me to go even further, because I was looking for the flaws. I was looking for the fault in the teachings, but I never found anything. And as I continued to search and I never found anything, it would just make my faith even more stronger. So I knew once I came home, this is what I was going to, be that mediator from the streets, what I represented, and be able to represent something better and be able to know the language from the two and be able to be the mediator and bring brothers from this side to let them know, yeah, I got the tattoos, yeah, I got the gold, but I'm showing you that you can come the way you are, but you can't stay that way. But more than anything, we're showing the people how the power of Allah, the power of the teachings can change anything.
Yes, sir. Earlier you said that you was looking for the flaws, you was looking for the loopholes.
Yep.
What are some misconceptions that you think young brothers or young women watching this have of the Nation of Islam?
Yes, sir. First of all, of course, the Malcolm situation, that's been popular for decades. The Malcolm situation, right? Y'all kill Malcolm, and you hear that so much. And another one is, oh, y'all think God is a man, is a human being, but that's a lack of the way we were shaped, the way we was, shaped in iniquity, not knowing ourselves, not knowing the reality of God, not knowing all the functions of the human being, how it's connected to science and math, and how it's connected to the supreme being. Those misconceptions is the main thing. Is Allah is not a human being, because even in the Sunni community, they don't believe that Allah is a human being. They believe Allah is beyond imagination, beyond our understanding. And that's the main conception of that people have of the Nation of Islam, and also the discipline. We're shaped so we're comfortable. I heard Malcolm X say that the hardest thing to do, and also the most honorable, Master Father Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, he told the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, brother, he said, brother, you have the hardest assignment more than any human being that's ever lived. You have to raise up people that are dead that don't even know that they're not dead. So how do you teach a people the truth that don't even know that they're not even living in the truth? You got so many people that have died on what they believe. I mean, go put their life on the line for falsehood, for deceptive intelligence. So the only thing that can come between you and that person is being able to activate the God within themselves. That's only up to Allah. That's why in the Quran, Allah says, no matter who strives to guide you aright, if it's not my will, it would not be. And he also says on the flip side, no matter who try to keep you away from the truth, if I will you to be the chosen one or the chosen ones of the truth, whatever they bring will not stop you from being able to activate the reality of the God that's in you. You know, so I look at all of that, man, but that's I think those be the biggest, you know, misconceptions, the Malcolm and God not being a human being.
Yes, sir. You were just talking about, you know, the raising the dead. For those watching that may not understand, what does that mean to raise the dead? Does that mean you're literally gonna go to the graveyard and raise up people from the dead, or what is the meaning in that?
Yeah, of course. Raising the dead is, we believe in the Nation of Islam that when we speak about resurrecting the dead, we're not talking about physical. We're talking about spiritual and mental. Okay, physical death is something that's inevitable, that has to happen. All right. When we in the Quran, Allah says to study my creation. So as we study the creation, if we are direct descendants from the God, from the supreme being, if we have all the attributes, I'm talking about the black man and woman, if we have all the attributes of Allah that he explains clearly in the Bible and in the Holy Quran, if we have all of these things, okay, and he says in the Quran to study my creation. Well, when we study the creation, we look at the lower animals of this world, and when one of their own pass, you can see how they mourn their own. So that is a sign that Allah is showing us that after this, physically, there is no more. See, the intelligence in those lower animals know that's it. The elephants, for example, when one of their own pass, they grieve, they get their trunks, they rub the body, they go over it. Even the little ones you can see standing behind their mom, you can just see the grief of all of the animals that are mourning their young or mourning one of their lost ones. That is a sign that Allah is showing us in the intelligence that there is nothing more beyond the grave. Also, Solomon said in the Holy Bible that the grave ends all things, and there is nothing more beyond the grave. That's in the Bible, brother. And I tell Christians all the time, what does this mean? You know, let's go right to Ecclesiastes and let's look at it. So if this is a representation of God, which he is, a prophet of God, why would he say this? What does this mean? There is nothing more beyond the grave, and the grave ends all knowledge. What does that mean? I've never come across any Christian to be able to explain that and give me the understanding of that. So, you know, and actually, I've had a few brothers that have seen that I've dialogued with, couldn't answer it, and came over to the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Oh, praise be to Allah. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
My next question is, you know, because I grew up atheist, you know, why believe in God? You know, some people may go through things in their life, you know, their mama died or their father died, their wife died. So, you know, they're saying, if a God exists, why would he do this to me? Why would he do that to me? So for you personally, you know, going through what you went through growing up, why believe in God?
Yeah, well, why believe in God? Because again, it goes back to where I was telling you that your nature is going to bear witness. Something in your life is going to happen, you know, that's going to allow you to have an opportunity to see the reality of God. When is it going to happen? I don't know. But like you said, I tell everybody when I go live, when I do self-improvement, the greatest way to know that God is real is through your own personal testimonies, not through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but through your own personal testimonies. If you're listening to this live right now and you're still living and you're still here, that's how you know there's a reality that God is real. Why? Because you can think about something that happened in your life that had you at your lowest moment. And now you've found a way to come out of that. You found a way to deal with that. So you have to know that there is a power beyond your logic. You have to know that there is something beyond in you that's allowing you to bounce back from something that could have just tore you apart, something that could have just had you out of there. Now you got some people that commit suicide and say, well, you know what? I can't do this. I can't do that. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, that's what you can, that's a sin that you cannot be forgiven for, is taking your own life, because it's not that you're taking your own life, but it's bigger than you. You're taking what Allah has allowed you to come into existence. You took that in your own hands and took that away. So how can Allah forgive you for taking that which you had no control over? So I just, and then I look at other people's lives, like God will allow you to see other people, and the consciousness in you will be so tuned in on what happened to them. And the way that our data is connected into our minds and into our reality, something is going to happen within us, because God said that I'm a just God. What does he mean when Allah says I'm a just God? What does he mean? He's meaning that throughout your life, he's obligated to reveal truth, so you will have an opportunity to be able to live in that truth. Look in your life and just think about, I tell anybody, look in your life and just go over just think about things that was hard, that you went through, and you was able to come out of it with great substance, and you was able to make it, and you was able to look back and you was able to laugh and say, wow, I was there. Now I'm not there. Now I'm doing better. Now I have friends, I have a luxury, I got a good home, I have a good job, I have businesses, I have these things. So you have to know that in order to come from that darkness into light, it has to be a power that is inside of you that is working beyond your limitation of your knowledge.
Yes, sir. And for just those watching, they may hear you speaking about the Nation of Islam, you speaking about God, but they may be saying in mind, what has this done for you? Because they may say, I'll join the Nation, I'll register, I'll study, do all this, but what will it do for me?
Yes, sir.
Because young people want tangibles. They want to know what it's going to do. So in your judgment, what has it done for you?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, I would like to say the first thing it has done for me was allow me to preserve my life in all spectrums, physically, mentally, and spiritually. In 2020, when the pandemic hit all over the world, universal crisis, I was driving trucks for Pepsi. I was driving 18-wheelers. And when this pandemic hit, brother, of course, we listening to the Honorable Ms. Louis Farrakhan. I never forget. Actually, brother, when I had came from Savior's Day 2020, we was in Detroit that year. And I was sick up there. I was mad sick, man. And I was like, damn. So we got home. I was like, man, when they started talking about COVID the next month, like in March, like around March, I said, man, I think I had it. I'm like, man, I was so sick in Detroit, man, in Savior's Day 2020. Bro, I was dog sick, bro. And everybody was trying to figure out, damn, what's going on. So Donald Trump came out, he was the president still, and he said, hey, essential workers got to still continue to go to work. So by me being a truck driver, delivering food and drinks and stuff like that, everybody is, now remember the CDC coming out in every city saying, hey, look, we don't know what this is. We can't stop it. We can't. And I mean, every day the numbers are multiplying. So of course we go in a study group. We listening to the minister. The minister come out and says, go into your chambers and close your doors. Now, who else is higher than him that's going to be able to speak to us and give us the right instructions and directions on what to do. So we know that that's the voice of God. That's the voice of Allah. He's the lead wire and representation to get us safe to the other side. So when he said, go in your chambers and lock your doors, this put me in a valley of decision, brother. I was afraid, and I want brothers to hear this, because I don't want you to think that just because you come into these teachings, you know, problems are going to go away. They don't. Your problems are still there. You still have to be able to deal with every problem that comes across your life. But having these teachings allow you to solve the problem of whatever problem come into your life. So I was afraid. I had anxiety. Do I still go to work? Do I still push and say, I gotta pay bills. I got a son I have to watch after. I got these types of things I have to do. And I'm saying all that to say that I end up challenging Pepsi, human resource HR. I stopped going to work. They couldn't fire me. I fought them for 3 weeks. I ended up winning, where they would have to pay me to stay at home until they figured out what this CDC thing was. I fought them. And I was afraid, brother. I mean, I was making $75,000 a year. So I was afraid. I'm like, man, I got this. Man, I'm making good money. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what am I going to do? Brother, is Allah is my witness. I said, man, I watched the lecture, Fear, Faith, and Truth every day, brother, for 3 weeks. As I battled HR, I watched Fear, Faith, and Truth every single day. And I called Brother Ben and I said, brother, I want to do something. And I want to use your platform and I want to expose Pepsi. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. He said, you sure you want to do that? I said, I'm sure, brother. So we made sure that we got approval through our minister, and we got approval through the Southwest region minister to go ahead, because, you know, I'm not only representing myself, I'm representing the Honorable Miss Lewis Farrakhan. So as I went live with Brother Ben on his platform, because he got a big platform, you know what I'm saying? So as I went live on his platform, I exposed Pepsi, you know, and it was almost like David versus Goliath, because this is a juggernaut, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. And I exposed them. And I never looked back. I knew that some of the people that probably watched that live probably worked at Pepsi with me, and they would go back and tell and whatever, but I didn't care. At this point, I'm looking at the minister. I'm hearing what he's saying, and I said, I'm gonna trust this man. This man has never lied to me. He's never lied. I've never seen, since 1955, studying the minister, we can never go back into research and find him in error nowhere, brother, since 1955. Do you hear me?
Yes,
we
sir.
Can't find nowhere, brother, where the minister has lied. Think about that. To not lie, I mean, as human beings, it has to be something in you that's a power that's allowing you to stay corrected as these circumstances and situations in and out of different decades hit you. You're protected by something. So I go to the depths and I look at that and I say, something up with this. And I want some of what he has. So for me to listen to him, I put my trust in my study and my research, my due diligence from watching his life. So being able to watch his life, I said, I'm gonna trust this. And when I did, Allah showed up. And Brother Ben said, hey, I have a class. It wasn't even called digital real estate at the time. It was something premature. And he said, hey, you ever heard of an ebook? I said, no. And he said, it's an electronic book. He said, man, your story, your testimonies, you go live all the time on Facebook, you go live on Instagram. He said, tell your story, create a product that you can make passive income on. He said, but don't worry about the passive income, brother. Worry about the passive impact to the people. Get your story out there to the people and show the people how the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided by the Honorable Minister Lewis Farrakhan, helped you get to the point where you at. And brother, I ended up writing my own book. First, I wrote an ebook, and then I came back and turned around and I wrote my own physical book. And when I wrote my book, brother, and I started to sell my book and people was hearing my story. When I went live about my story, and Brother Ben, with me and him went live in his studio, and we was talking about my book, Determined to Change, I became an author. But this couldn't have never happened, brother, if it wasn't for this man, if it wasn't for the self-improvement, the basis for community development. I'm not talking about just saying, oh, I'm a Muslim, picking up the Quran and reading that. I'm not talking about being a Christian, picking up the Bible, saying, oh yeah, I read a few scriptures today and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. No, I'm talking about going into the depths of the understanding of our existence. So being able to understand that allowed me to say, listen, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that your gift will make room for you. So what is your gift? So Ben, Brother Ben, to me, he's like a little Farrakhan. So I'm with him all the time. So he's always saying, what is your gift, brother? What is your gift? And I said, I don't know. I just always tell him, I don't know, brother. And he said, you got a gift? He said, brother, when you speak, people listen. And he said, brother, you got to hone in on that. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to tell the people what Allah is doing for you. So that's what I started doing. I started going around speaking, and he would help me, and we were recording, and so now I speak in schools. I go to middle schools and speak to the youth. My next project is getting into the detention centers and going back into the prisons and being able to speak to the brothers to let them know that this ain't just no jail religion. This ain't something that you just do to pass time. No, if you want to come out here and be successful, to where I was able to create my own product and I can make money while I'm asleep. I can be asleep and still be making money. So I don't worry about the income, focus on impacting the people with the truth. I know people gonna say, well, everybody ain't into the Nation of Islam. Well, hey, I understand that. But I was able to show you from the life that I live, which many live, but I'm showing you what this medicine, taking this formula from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, how it helped me. One thing that we say in prison, brother, when everything else failed, why not try Islam? Because we'll try everything and say, oh, I've done everything. You ain't tried these teachings. You ain't tried this. You say, I tried everything. Oh man, God don't love. Yeah, brother, but you ain't tried this. What's wrong? Why you ain't trying this? Every time I introduce this to you, you turn, you go in another direction. What's making you do that? So in the Quran, it says, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change themselves. So our job is to introduce it. Once we introduce, we see the results. Look at Dr. Wesley Muhammad. Look at Brother Nir. We see the fruits bearing witness from the tree. Even in Dr. Ava Muhammad, our women, Mother Tanetta Muhammad, we have giants that feed on to this teaching. And we have too many results, brother. We have too much evidence to show. Why would the government of the United States of America invite the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to come speak at the White House? And he said, no, you want to talk to me? You come to me. I'm the messenger of God. You want to know what I know. So how was he able to speak about certain things in the 1930s and 40s and 50s? And now we got all this technology, and the things that he was saying in the 30s and 40s and 50s, with all the top technology that we have in 2022, they're still studying the things that he spoke about long time ago. So white people in high places, when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad came out and said that God was a man, brother, we in ignorance, Black people laughed. They pointed fingers at him. They called him stupid. They said he can barely talk. He has a speech impediment. But when he said that God was a man, and he's the original Black man of the planet Earth, of the universe, when he said that, the white people in high places, Congress, senators, scientists, everybody in high places, they never laughed at him. They started asking questions, because the white man, which is the prudent man in the description of the Bible, what did God say? I will keep the wisdom from the prudent man and give it unto the babes. See, the prudent man is considered the white man in high places. When he heard the most honorable Elijah Muhammad speak, he said, he knows something. This man knows something. So therefore, for us to be able to recognize that, it's a blessing within itself, man. So being able to hold on to these teachings will allow you to create opportunities for yourself. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, get 6 to 8 like minds and come together. Well, that's what we did. I have my own security now that I'm getting my being Brother Ben's personal security. We go everywhere: LA, New York, Chicago, Atlanta. Actually, I'm taking off tomorrow morning. We're going to Atlanta tomorrow morning. We always moving around traveling with his work and my line of work as well. But the highlight of us moving around doing business is we're both students of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So when we're doing business and enterprises all over different remedy conferences, we have the enjoyment of saying, first and foremost, we're students of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because we want the world to know that, hey, wait a minute, we love our people. We know it's different, it's many conscious platforms all over the world, but we want y'all to know that we're students of this tree. You understand me? We want, and the feedback that we get, brother, from so many people around the world is, and I'm not just saying this, but it's people that always bear witness and say, man, it's something different about them brothers and sisters that's in the Nation of Islam. And we love to hear that, because we know it's the reality of God. That's what it is. It's not no spookism. It's not no falsehood. It's 100%, true. And this is why the government in high places has the Nation of Islam as the #1 enemy, because we know that what we represent is a new world coming in.
Yes, sir. And man, I just want to thank you, man, for coming on my platform, my small platform I'm trying to build up.
Absolutely.
Following the example of Brother Ben. And I just want to thank you for your time and for your patience coming on here to support your little brother. And I just want to say, man, thank you. Salam alaikum. Is there anything you want to plug before we end this right here?
Yes, sir. Well, I go live, pretty much 3-4 times a week, depending on how I am. Knowledge 5845 on Instagram. That's my handle, Knowledge 5845. If a person is interested in, reading my book, want to know, how the process was being in prison and how the transition, came about, the reality of being in prison, mass incarceration, you can get this book. You can go to determinetochange.org. I have t-shirts as well. It's getting summertime. As you can see right now, I have, let me move these out the way right quick. I got my Determined to Change shirts, man. I got red, I got black, I got white. Just trying to, get the work done, man. I have a YouTube. I just created a YouTube page too as well, Winford X, so you can subscribe to that on YouTube. But I've been having some complications with my YouTube. I went live successfully one time on my page, and of course I was speaking about the teaching, and all of a sudden now I'm having complications. We're going live. They terminated Brother Ben X page for the second time. And as I started to talk about the teachings, all of a sudden now I'm getting connections where I can't even go live on it. So, but I continue to use my outlet from Facebook. I go live on Facebook, Winford Perry with my name. And again, like I said, on Instagram, Knowledge 5845. But I have another book that's complete that I'm getting ready to bring out as well. I have a lot of things that I got going on, man, just trying to help myself and do for myself and continue to put myself in a position to where I can be heard, to where we can represent these teachings. It's not for me. It's not something that I'm trying to blow up myself and say, hey, everybody look at me. No, when you look at me, I'm trying to turn you towards the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because the minister said that in order for people to be truly successful, we're going to have to mention who he is. And we can't be afraid to mention who he is, no matter, I don't care if I'm speaking, it's all white people in the audience. I'm gonna let them know I'm a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, And this man right here is a representative of a true living God around the world. And whatever else come after that, man, you know, I'm not even tripping on how they receive it or whatever. Long as I'm saying doing right by the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, because we seen him do right by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's all that matters.
Yes, sir. Man.
Yes, indeed.
Man, I wish we could have went longer, man.
For sure.
You gave me a lot to study within myself.
For sure.
And I really appreciate it because I'm only 19 years young, man. So I'm a baby.
Oh, brother, you 19, brother?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Oh my God, brother. Hey, man, listen, I just want to say, man, thank you, brother, for being your age and doing what you're doing. Brother, that makes me feel so great and so good to know that at 19 years old, brother, you in the teachings. Brother, I'm 41 years old. Brother, by the time you get my age, if you continue to do what you're doing, brother, you're going to be so successful because Allah does not go back on his promise. You're 19 years old, and that's the importance. You are the new generation. So you have to continue to do what you're doing right now. Continue to follow Brother Ben X. That brother is showing a whole new world, brother. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say, Brother Ben has a program. So when you hear the minister say his name, and you know the Anti-Defamation League is on Brother Ben now. The minister told Brother Ben, your enemies, my enemies have become your enemies. So what you're doing, don't be afraid. The minister said he's looking for 10,000 frigates. I pray to Allah that myself and you as well be a part of that 10,000. So continue to do what you're doing, black man, and you're gonna be blessed for what you're doing.
Yes, sir. I just want to thank you again, and I hope that we cross paths in the future physically, and I would love to build with you in the future.
Yes, sir.
And I'm honored to have spoke with you, brother. I was nervous.
Don't be, brother. Hey, listen, we all soldiers. We all on the battlefield together. For
yes,
sure.
Sir.
Indeed.
But, Salam alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak.
Wa alaikum salam, Ramadan Kareem. Thank you, brother.